The weight was already pulling a lump from the poor soil, and soon it would fall. He tore out the stem and began to poke about in the water, while the brilliant fish flicked away on the side and back. Piggy leaned dangerously. Careful, you'll break it. Shut up. Ralph spoke absently. The shell was interesting and pretty and a worthy plaything, but the vivid phantoms of the daydream still interposed between him and Piggy, who in this context was an irrelevance. The palm sapling, blending, pushed the shell across the weeds. Ralph used one hand as a fulcrum and pressed down with the other till the shell rose, dripping, and Piggy could make a grab. Now the shell was no longer a thing seen, but not to be touched. Ralph too became excited. Piggy babbled. A conch, ever so expensive. I bet if you wanted to buy one, you'd have to pay pounds and pounds and pounds. He had it on his garden wall, and my auntie, Ralph took the shell from Piggy, and a little water ran down his arm. The color of the shell was deep cream, touched here and there with fading pink. Between the point worn away into a little hole and the pink slips of the mouth lay 18 inches of shell with a slight spiral twist and covered with delicate embossed pattern. Ralph shook sand out of the deep tube. Moved like a cow, he said. He had some white stones too, and a bird cage with a green parrot. He didn't blow the white stones, of course, and he said, Piggy paused for breath and stroked the glistening thing that lay in Ralph's hands. Ralph! Ralph looked up. We can use this to call the others and have a meeting. They'll come when they hear us. He beamed at Ralph. That was what you meant, didn't you? That's why you got the conch out of the water. Ralph pushed back his fair hair. How did your friend blow the conch? He kind of spat, said Piggy. My aunt would let me blow on account of my asthma. He said you blew from down here. Piggy laid a hand on his jutting abdomen. You try, Ralph. You'll call the others. Doubtfully, Ralph laid the small end of the shell against his mouth and blew. There came a rushing sound from its mouth, but nothing more. Ralph wiped the salt water off his lips and tried again, but the shell remained silent. He kind of spat. Ralph pursed his lips and squirted air into the shell, which emitted a low farting noise. This amused both boys, so much that Ralph went on squirting for some minutes between bouts of laughter. He blew from down here. Ralph grasped the idea and hit the shell with air from his diaphragm. Immediately the thing sounded. A deep, harsh note boomed under the palms, spread through the intricacies of the forest, and echoed back from the pink granite of the mountains. Clouds of birds rose from the treetops, and something squealed and ran in the undergrowth. Ralph took the shell away from his lips. Gosh! His ordinary voice sounded like a whisper after the harsh note of the conch. He laid the conch against his lips, took a deep breath, and blew once more. The note boomed again, and then, at his firmer pressure, the note, fluking up an octave, became a strident blare more penetrating than before. Piggy was shouting something, his face pleased, his glasses flashing. The birds cried, small animals scattered. Ralph's breath failed. The note dropped, the octave became a lower wubber, was a rush of air. The conch was silent, a gleaming tusk. Ralph's face was dark with breathlessness, and the air over the island was full of bird clamor and echoes ringing. I bet you can hear that for miles. Ralph found his breath and blew a series of short blasts. Piggy explained, there's one. A child had appeared among the palms, about 100 yards along the beach. He was a boy of perhaps 6 years. Sturdy and fair, his clothes torn, his face covered with a sticky mess of fruit. His trousers had been lowered for an obvious purpose and had only been pulled back halfway. He jumped off the palm terrace into the sand, and his trousers fell about his ankles. He stepped out of them and trotted to the platform. Piggy helped him up. So now there are 3. We have Ralph, who is 12. We have Piggy. We don't know how old Piggy is. Probably younger than Ralph, though. And now we have a 6-year-old that just appeared, right? Meanwhile, Ralph continued to blow till voices shouted in the forest. The small boy squatted in front of Ralph, looking up brightly and vertically. As he received the reassurance of something purposeful being done, he began to look satisfied, and his only clean digit, a pink thumb, slid into his mouth. So the little 6-year-old sucks his thumb. Piggy leaned down to him. "What's your name?" "Johnny." Piggy muttered the name to himself and then shouted it to Ralph, who was not interested because he was still glowing. His face was dark with the violent pressure of making this stupendous noise, and his heart was making the stretched shirt shake. The shouting in the forest was nearer. Signs of life was visible now on the beach. The sand trembling beneath the heat haze concealed many figures. In its miles of length, boys were making their way toward the platform through the hot, dumb sand. 3 small children, no older than Johnny, appeared from startling close at hand, and they had been gorging fruit in the forest, so they found fruit to eat. A dark little boy, not much younger than Piggy, parted a tangle of undergrowth, walked onto the platform, and smiled cheerfully at everybody. More and more of them came. Taking their cue from the innocent Johnny, they sat down on the fallen palm trunks and waited. Ralph continued to blow short, penetrating blasts. Piggy moved among the crowd, asking names and frowning to remember them. The children gave him the same simple obedience that they had given to the men with megaphones. Some were naked and carrying their clothes, others half naked or more or less dressed in some school uniform, gray, blue, fawn, jacketed, or jersey. There were badges, mottos, even stripes of color in stockings and pullovers, their heads clustered above the trunks in the green shade, heads brown, fair, black, chestnut, sandy, moose-colored, heads muttering, whispering, heads full of eyes that watched Ralph and speculated. Something was being done. The children who came along the beach, seemingly or into, leapt into visibility when they crossed the line from sea haze to nearest sand. Here the eye was first attracted to a black, bat-like creature that danced on the sand, and only later perceived the body above it. The bat was a child's shadow, struck by the vertical sun to a patch between the hurrying feet. Even while he blew, Ralph noticed the last pair of bodies that reached the platform above a fluttering patch of black. The 2 boys, bullet-headed and with hair like tow, flung themselves down and lay grinning and panting at Ralph like dogs. They were twins, and the eye was shocked and incredulous at such cheery duplication. They breathed together, they grinned together, they were chunky and vital. They raised wet lips at Ralph, for they seemed provided with not quite enough skin, so that their profiles were blurred and their mouths pulled open. Piggy bent his flashing glasses to see them, and could be heard between the blasts repeating their names. Sam, Eric, Sam, Eric. Okay, there's 2 more. They're twins, Sam and Eric. They got muddled. The twins shook their heads and pointed at each other, and the crowd laughed. At last, Ralph ceased to blow and sat there, the conch trailing from one hand, his head bowed on his knees. As the echoes died away, so did the laughter, and there was silence. Hello.
Oh, you got them. What'd you get? The book.
Oh yeah, Lord of the Flies.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they had them.
Okay, I'm just leaving this for, you to fill out, because they're there.
Okay. Where we at? Within the diamond haze of the beach, something dark was fumbling along. Ralph saw it first and watched till the intenseness of his gaze drew all eyes that way. Then the creature stepped from mirage onto clear sand, and they saw that the darkness was not all shadow, but mostly clothing. The creature was a party of boys marching approximately in step in 2 parallel lines and dressed in strangely eccentric clothing. Short shirts and different garments they carried in their hands, but each boy wore a square black cap with a silver badge on it. Their bodies from throat to ankle were hidden by black cloaks, which bore a long silver cross on the left breast, and each neck was finished off with a ham bone frill. The heat of the tropics, the descent and the search for food, and now this sweaty march along the blazing beach had given them the complexion of newly washed plums. The boy who controlled them was dressed in the same way, though his cap badge was golden. Pause. What's going on?
I believe that his, what's his name? Mr. Ralph? I think his dad came.
It's only the beginning. Ain't nobody saved him yet. It's only the beginning. Who was that? Who's marching out of the woods dressed up and marching? Another group of boys that started their own gang, right? So who does Ralph thinks he's the boss of? Y'all see how kids can get real, things can get real ugly real fast? So that's what's going on. They all got stranded on this island, and Ralph, being the leader that he is, it was just him and Piggy at first. And then they started blowing the conch that they found, and now everybody's coming, but he got the little boy, the 6-year-old, he got a couple more 6-year-olds, and then he got the twins, right? They all came and met Ralph, but there's a bunch of boys that have already clicked up with someone else, right? So let's see if this leader and Ralph get along. You got to stand up? I don't care, as long as y'all reading along, I don't care. When his party was about 10 yards from the platform, he shouted an order, and they halted. Oh, God. He's already the boss of everybody.
Hey, cool.
The one walking up. We're at the top of page 20. Right here. When his party was about 10 yards from the platform, he shouted an order, and they all halted, grasping, swaying in a fierce light. The boy himself came forward, vaulted onto the platform with his cloak flying, and peered into what to him was almost complete darkness. Where's the man with the trumpet? Ralph, sensing his son's blindness, answered him, There's no man with the trumpet, only me. The boy came close and peered down at Ralph, screwing up his face as he did so. What he saw of the fair-haired boy with the creamy shell on his knees did not seem to satisfy him. He turned quickly, his back cloak circling. Isn't there a ship then? Inside the floating cloak, he was tall, thin, and bony. And his hair was red beneath the black cap. It's always them gingers. They always got to be the mean ones, huh?
Nope.
Y'all seen Children of the Corn?
Yeah.
It was the ginger that was the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
His face was crumpled and freckled. They always got freckles, too. And ugly without silliness.
Miss, it's time to go.
Ugly without silliness
2 minutes.
means that this boy wasn't playing around. Okay, so we got the redhead leader who just came in. We're going to stop there. It's time for y'all to go?
Yes.
Okay, so tomorrow just remember the characters, okay? We'll pick up there.
Page 20.
I got you. Page 20 is my 4th spot.
You want the books?
Yeah, bring me the books.